Good evening and welcome everyone down on this 9th of July to Tech Talk Friday. If you saw the promo, you know what we're going to be talking about today. It's all about innovation accelerators. That's the topic for today. So if you already know, you're already here, you joined us, great. Thank you so much. If you haven't joined us yet, what are you doing? You should be joining us right now on Tech Talk. You can join us on either LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. You choose and watch the stream. So Tech Talk is our weekly digest of tech and what is happening in the world of tech, especially in Malaysia. And we've got two guests here today with us, and we're going to go through the topic in a short while. But of course, not to forget, Tech Talk Friday is brought to you by Necole, the learning experience platform that is there for you to accelerate your skills, your growth, your future, and your career. So drop on down to Necole.app, and if you want a 30% discount right now, there's a promo code on the scroller down there, which is Roshan T Lead 30. Use that code and you get 30% off today on Necole.app. So go visit later after the show. All right. Now on this show, very important, yeah. I hope some of y'all have left some comments. If y'all watch the promo video, left some comments for us, left some questions for us that you want us to ask our guests today. If you haven't, you can still do it right now as you watch the stream. We will get your comments, we'll flash it up on the screen, and if you've got some good questions, we'll ask our guests as well. Remember, you are part of this show, but the show is not done by me alone. You always know the very illustrious tech journalist from Malaysia in his dark room. I don't know in which part of Selangor or KL. Ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce the other host of Tech Talk Friday, Karamjit Singh. Oh, he's still meditating. We have to give him a minute. Karam, hello. Karam, hello. Okay. He's back already. Good. Are you here? Are you whole?
Not yet. I'm still trying to center myself. Today is one of those days where time is your enemy. I look, and you don't have to look at the watch now, right? You see the screen bottom right-hand corner, and it's like challenging you, it's threatening you, it's attacking you. And I just wish that I really wish you're still 2:30 p.m. because that's how far behind I feel I am in work.
Oh, one of those days, huh? All right. And actually, speaking about time, I've been having one of those weeks where everybody I'm speaking to is talking about we need to find time for ourselves. Do you feel that way, Karam?
Absolutely not. I'm spending every single waking moment with myself. No, I need to devote my time. I need to devote my time to the ecosystem. I have a responsibility. So many stories to tell, good stories. Some are very hard to tell. It takes time. So not so easy to tell a story well. You can tell a story, but if you tell it well, a bit more challenging and time consuming. And you got messages coming in, and some demand immediate attention, and some are nitty-gritty stuff. So you know the drill. Anyway, Come, let me focus now. Let's talk about this week's.
All right. Speaking about stories, good segue on to our DNA pick of the week. And this week, it's about Malaysian fintech Money Match securing US 4.4 mil Series A with KF Investment Bank as a lead investors. It's a round that began in 2019 with Cradle Seed Ventures, includes venture debt facility via MDV. And they aim to partner with digital bank licenses to expand to Singapore and Hong Kong. So what's this story about, Karam?
I mean, what I like is, look, this Adrian Yap, the co-founder, along with Nathan Munusamy, they launched this back in 2015, right? And so this is a 6-year journey now. And look at the first tranche, 2019. Of course, they would have closed it last year, but COVID turned everything on its head. Fortunately, they managed to close their Series A this year. So it's taken like a year and a half or 2 years to close their Series A. Probably the longest I know. So imagine the discipline and the focus that, the entrepreneurs need as leaders of the company, right? To keep everyone committed. Because the team is excited. Hey, we've already got cradled in now. We're going to close the round. And then, COVID happens. And then they're wondering, we're supposed to close round. What's happening? And, the two of them have to maintain the ship and maintain, a growth and a commitment and drive while trying to get investors. Hey, the business is still solid, right? Don't worry, don't waver. And they finally managed to. So incredible amount of mental tenacity there. Yeah. And I'm super excited to say that, our friend Nathan has agreed to be a guest next week. So you can listen in next week to see how Nathan plans to further accelerate the growth of Money Match, because it's a very tough market, right? Many players here. There's even a player that has raised like $80 million US. It's an Indian entrepreneur, but he based the company, launched it out of Singapore. So they're really playing a global game, and they're already in the market here, and there are a lot of big players here. And I think Nathan told me that you just got to be super focused, right? And just building the business. So he's looking to do that. So let's get him here next week for the granular. But I thought this was a really interesting story I wanted to highlight. And I'm super glad that he's willing to be a guest next week.
Right. And I think I'm going to be interested to ask him how he kept that resilience and tenacity all the way through 2 years. 2 years until it really got done. So that's going to be an interesting conversation happening next week. So if you want to check out this story and many more, drop by digitalnewsasia.com and check out the stories and the pick of the week. All right. We'll leave the link in the comments area. You can drop by there in a short bit. So remember, comments area is there for you. We are about to bring on our first guest. So if you have any questions as you hear the conversations, do drop by. Or if you have any feedback, any thought about what's being said, drop it as well. We'd like to hear from you. All right. So we alluded in the promo during the week that this week is going to be all about accelerators, their role in our ecosystem right now, especially because there's so many in this COVID era. There's so many innovative entrepreneurs, business owners, and startups coming up. Now, what is the role of accelerators here, and what has happened in the ecosystem with accelerators? So we're going to bring on our first guest, who's actually been here with us before and has been mentioned by some other guests of ours who actually really stand by them. So ladies and gentlemen, let's bring on the managing partner of NEXEA, Ben Lim.
Ben,
hey,
welcome.
Karamjit. Hey, Nigesh. Thanks for having me again.
No problem. No problem.
We normally don't want to have people repeat, but you and NEXEA have forced your way into our radar.
In our hearts.
Oh, okay. Good to know that. I hope that's a good thing.
That's a very good thing.
Depends on how you take it, Ben, because it's another round with Karam. So
I love talking to Karam, so no problem at all for me.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Karam,
Nigesh,
what you
sorry
got
to
for me?
disappoint you, Nigesh. Sorry to disappoint you.
I say, man. Never mind, like you take it like Karam.
Okay, so listen. So Ben, look, your version 6, right? Your 6th year of your accelerator is back. Probably the best version yet. And I was really happy that you guys have expanded your universe, right? You're collaborating with, if I remember, Magic, MDAC, you've got MBAN, and even, sorry, not Alibaba Cloud. So I'm thinking cloud service.
Amazon.
Amazon,
Web
yeah.
services.
Amazon Web Services. And you've got corporate players also, which is super important, right? Especially when you know that you've got a heavyweight like Sunway Group also playing in the space, right? Innovation and through partnering with startups and opening up the Sunway ecosystem for them. Hey, we've got amazing opportunities for you to run your pilot. So you're up against people like that, and you're also doing your level there. And I think I just want to start with the fact that you're trying to build this innovation, this ecosystem and accelerator, and you've got competition, which is great, right? There's so many of you good guys out there. So really, can you talk about how are you, the pain point, I guess, right? Your accelerator is trying to solve for these startups.
Well, the pain point for the startups a lot of the times is to do with validation and growth. Right. At the end of the day, they do come to us, for the funding, right? But that's just part of the recipe of helping their startups to grow. So for example, we've helped a couple of startups grow fast during the last 3 to 5, actually 5 years of accelerator already in the past. Where La Pasa is one of those examples. Today they're actually 80x on a transacted basis, but closer to 100, actually way beyond 100x at the moment. In terms of returns for us from the first investment that we made, right? So how do startups grow this fast? How do we help them to validate their company? How do these entrepreneurs break through barriers and those challenges in business that can really, get them stuck at times, right? So they hit a plateau and then they find, hey, how come I'm not growing the company anymore? What's wrong with the business? How can I go beyond this, right? So that's where a lot of our investors and mentors, which we call investor mentors actually, because not only do they invest, they also mentor, right? And that's really the value in it. They are entrepreneurs themselves. They are, they've got all that experience, all those connections that they've built up over the years to be able to help, the startups. So, at the end of the day, it's how we can help these startups grow their companies, and to be companies that have potential to be future unicorns as well. Yep.
Nice. I love the fact that you also mentioned in your press release, right, that you aim to try to grow future unicorns, because you're setting a very high bar for yourself, and I love that. This not sitting back and we've already got a formula, let's just go with it. You are raising the bar and increasing the pressure on yourself, but credit to you for that. Now, look, there are accelerators all over the place. When I say all over the place, not just in Malaysia but around the region. And so I want to ask you, how do you feel your accelerator is different? Whether you want to call it differentiate yourself from accelerators in Malaysia and in Singapore also?
Well, one of the ways which we differentiate ourselves is in that we've got the investor mentors on board. Been like real businessmen, real entrepreneurs who have done it, and have proven success and are really willing to spend their time to guide startups. And how willing are they to guide startups? I can share, La Pasa or even Parkit, we made those investments 4 or 5 years ago.
Yep.
And up till today, the mentors are still mentoring them, right? Wow. So that's the kind of dedication that we have, even post Accelerator, in guiding and helping the startups, which is we find not many accelerators are willing to go to that length, right? Other ways, for example, would be through the corporates that we are able to bring into the Accelerator program. So this year we have Spritzer, Allianz, and SW Food, well known for their rice brand Jati and Eco Brown and so on. So we've got 3 corporates so far. More may come in as we move along. So these guys are really willing to invest. They're willing to work with startups. They're very open to it. In fact, right? They're looking for new innovations all the time. So these corporates, we find, can one investment into a startup from a corporate could equal to easily 5 to 10 angel investors.
Wow.
Right. So the amount and the quantum is a lot larger, and therefore the amount of help from one single corporate, even just simply as a first customer to the startup, is highly invaluable. Right. It's so much help for the startup to get a large contract, and that just gives them that huge boost. So that's partly what happened to La Pasa. They not only got one corporate, they currently have 50 corporates, right, in their client list, and that enabled them to grow so fast at the same time.
Understood. So you are talking about so it looks like you feel that your secret sauce, after doing it for 5 years and now you're about to embark on a 6th year, is the value of mentors who are engaged beyond the 5-month period of the accelerator, right?
Yes, that is one of it. But I think if I were to summarize a lot of all of it into one word, it would be collaboration, right? So I also should say that not only collaboration from the mentors or investors or the corporates, it's also collaboration within the ecosystem itself, right? So Magic, MDEC, Amazon, AWS, Malaysian Business Angel Network, even Cyberview has joined us as a co-organizer.
Nice.
Supporting partner is Cradle as well. So we've got, players that provide grants, players that provide all kinds of support programs within the ecosystem. Magic, for example, has NTIS. MDEC have actually quite a number of programs at hand as well. So all of them put together, we are then able to help the startups a lot as working in unison. We're able to really work on that and support the startup much further as well at the same time.
And I've got a bit of an additional question there. Does it also include the startups who have found success with you? So meaning like La Pasa, they're finding success. If they feel like they want to be part of the Accelerator to give back this time, is that opportunity for them?
Oh yeah, definitely. They are also part of this collaborative effort, right? So we do call them back. Hey, can you please share, with the new batch here today, the new batch of companies here today, what was the journey like? Growing beyond 100x of your revenues and traction and all this. We've also got startups from our angel investment programs or even through our entrepreneurs program, right? Where we could invite them in with valuable experiences. Some companies, for example, they have in-house expertise for digital marketing. Some other companies are really good at B2C. Some are extremely good at B2B. So all those experiences, bringing back all those alumni and startups from our other programs in really helps startups that are in these early stages as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
do you talk about failures also, because you've had so many startups come through your program? Some of them maybe they have closed down totally, or maybe and many of them would have launched products or services that didn't work, and do they come and share, hey, we did this and we thought the market liked it, but didn't, and this is what we learned? Because that's even more valuable, right?
Yeah, we believe in learning from failing. It's very, very important and central to how we operate NEXEA as well. So for example, in entrepreneurs program, right, we've got 15, 20 startups in a room usually, and every single month, right? And that's just one group. We've got 4-5 groups at the moment.
Nice.
And when they walk into the room, this is pre-MCO, of course. When they join the call, we tell them to leave their ego outside, right? So that when they come in, they can talk about failures. They can share those painful experiences. They can share what they've learned and what they've experienced, so that the other 15 to 20 in the room can really learn from each other. And that's a lot of the value in which we try to bring to the entrepreneurs as well. So the mentors guiding those sessions tell them, hey, please leave your ego outside. When you come in here, you are naked. You are sharing everything, right?
Nice.
And what's shared in those rooms stays in those rooms.
Yeah, correct.
Very important. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me just move on to another one. Question is, and before that, I want to say that I think you guys also have set the bar for transparency when it comes to accelerators, because I love the fact that you talk about what was the business, right, the revenue of these startups before they join your program, and the revenue after, and you gave us the data up to like end of May this year, right? And not just revenue in terms of their valuation also, and in terms of how much they actually raised also. So and I hope that other startups also start doing that when they launch their programs. And of course, this is a hint to Matt, who's going to come on next. I would love to know what has been the track record of Sunway's super accelerator. They're calling it super accelerator, so I'm expecting super numbers from Matt. Okay, so yeah, that kind of thing. But that aside, just to credit you there. So now this question is really about, and we've never asked this question before, I guess. So do you feel that there's been a society impact, right, with the work that you all are doing and through the accelerator?
I would really like to believe so. I don't get enough data coming back that gives me a very extremely clear indicator. Maybe I haven't been looking, right? But we do a lot of things that we find that government agencies related to startups do as well, right? So, for example, the Entrepreneurs Program, we actually sponsor a lot of startups, right? We actually give a lot of huge scholarships or discounts to the program for startups to join, right? And whenever we mentor, right, be it through angel investment, be it through our not the Entrepreneurs Program, but our Accelerator program, right? We do not charge the startups for any of those mentoring, right? And even the benefits, the experts, 2 million ringgit worth of benefits. Usually startups take 200, 400K of it. Experts as well, similar to mentors, they spend a lot of time with the startups.
Oh yeah.
But we don't charge the startups a single cent for that. All we are looking for, we're looking for the best startups to invest in. That's it, right? So in terms of society impact, I cannot say that NEXEA is a startup that goes for the masses, right? We do not go for a large number of startups to support, right? But what we specialize in is we try to find the best and we work on them and we try to really help these few companies, those that we have. Those that we can focus our time, energy, and focus on helping. So not a very wide societal impact, but impact on the few that we can focus on.
That's fine. Cool. So, okay, let me just go on to the last question. Of course, I mean, not last up, but, we're going to try to be disciplined in the show. So, for this show is the last question. But you want to talk about is there any issues around policy you see as standing in the way of further growth for startups in the country? And, if you want to, you can comment on My Digital also if you want to. But is there a policy issue you see that needs to be addressed to accelerate innovation?
To accelerate innovation, I think policies that work with the private sector a bit more like My Digital has is hinting towards that as well. I think those are good, right? Those are good. But at the same time, that there are policies that there's the political situation at the moment, right? Which sometimes will we see the policy through or not, right? So that's more of where my concern is at the moment. And executing policies, it does take quite an amount of time for things to actually happen. So that's another question. If it's if it's seen through, then will we really see the impact of such policies, right? So that's what I feel at the moment on policies. But I think if I could wish on some policy to spur the industry locally, I would say I would really like to see corporate tax incentives come through, and this is really being championed by the Malaysian Business Angel Network. They're doing some pretty good work there, and this corporate tax incentive is what they're proposing here is for corporates to be able to invest in startups and deduct it off their tax later on, right? And this will really de-risk for them, a lot of their investments and really encourage investments into startups, right? It not only helps the startups, it really helps the corporates as well. Now they own a piece of, future companies that will really change the landscape. Right.
I mean, Sunway will be a big beneficiary of this if this happens. And I know, under Dr. Siva, before, they have been pushing this. So let's see whether in this year's budget, right, by whoever the finance minister is, then they take this up and they actually announce it, and it's a solid corporate investment, incentive, right?
Yeah.
Indeed, and that's going to be a golden question politically bound golden question that Karam just threw out there. But Ben, I do have one more question, but I'm going to save it when we bring you back on at the end of the show. Right?
Sure.
I'm really curious about something regarding that number 6 that you have there. All right. Thanks so much, Ben, for your time right now. We'll bring you back in a short bit. So stay with us. And we're going to move on to our next guest. So Karam already already gave enough spoiler. Cukup already. So, of course, the next guest, and he already said super accelerator. And you want to find out what this super accelerator is going to do for the innovation path. Ladies and gentlemen, Sunway Groups. I do not know how to pronounce the name properly here, Karam. Maybe you need to help me here. I don't want to say the wrong thing with the name.
No, this is just call him Matt Leeuwen.
Matt Leeuwen, CIO of Sunway Group, Sunway Group Director of Sunway iLabs as well. So, Matt.
Hi, good evening, guys.
Good evening, Matt.
Thanks for bastardizing my name even further. But I'm used to it, don't worry.
So, for my sake, how do we exactly pronounce your name?
It'd be Matt van Leeuwen. The Karamjit was close, but he missed a van in between. Part of the Dutch name, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm going to stick with Matt. That's
easier for me.
All right, Matt. Thanks for being with us. And curious to find out this term, super accelerator, what it's all about. Yeah.
You have set the bar so high. And by the way, our condolences on the Dutch being knocked out of Euro 2020-21.
Yeah, well, what to say? I think we're not the best football country in the world anymore. But the only consolation for me was that England knocked out Germany in the same round. So that made me feel better at least.
Oh man,
Sorry
England,
for the Germans watching here.
So boring, the English play. Oh my God, I can't believe they're in the finals. But anyway, let's just focus on this because you've got a great story to tell, and really want. And you guys have, in a way, you've outsourced innovation. Right? You're in a conglomerate, and really, it is easier for me to list the verticals that Sunway is not in than to list like the 13 verticals you're in. Right, one of the largest conglomerates in Southeast Asia. And I could be wrong, but you're probably one of the largest corporates, conglomerates to also have a accelerator that you are serious about. And that to me is very impressive because I really want to understand, right, what the impact has been, right, for you guys as you've been growing this. So really, the first question is that what pain points is your accelerator, right, trying to solve?
Yeah, that is a good one. And I just want to throw out there that Accelerator is just like one of the tools in our toolbox, because not all startups would fit into an accelerator program, right? Okay. Some of them are a little bit more too mature or they're too young. And so it's not always the right program for the startups. It's also not always the right tool for us to do corporate innovation properly. So the important thing, I think, for corporates is to set the objectives right at the start. What do you want to get out of this, right? Other tools that we have in the toolbox is we have a corporate venture capital arm called Sunway Capital. So we invest in more the Series A to Series B range. We do a fund-of-fund investment in other VCs like Gobi Partners, for example. So they also very much part of our ecosystem. And beyond that, we do like open innovation programs when startups come in to solve certain problem statements that we run. So we have a very good accelerator program as well with Jetro from Japan. And every year we select up to 5 startups from Japan that actually work with Sunway, with our ecosystem, to solve problem statements around certain areas. And what we have done really, and I think this is the same thing for our accelerator, is we've set certain areas where we feel that there is growth potential, right? But at the same time, it's also areas where we feel we can help the startups. Right, so we have 13 business units, but we have actually distilled it down to 6 verticals, right? Where we see that growth. So the verticals are edutech for education. Obviously, with more than 20,000 students, we have a huge test bed there, and I think a lot can be done to improve the way we deliver education and the way it can be consumed. We're looking at digital health, right, around our healthcare ecosystem. Smart cities in a broader sense, things like 5G, right? We are closely monitoring and we are starting some pilots around that. We look at fintech. I mean, it's no secret anymore that we are also tendering for that digital banking license.
Right.
So we're building up the ecosystem around fintech. E-commerce, I think mostly offline to online around our shopping malls that we have. We've already made some investments in e-commerce enablers to bring some of these smaller mom and pop shops online as well. And finally, agri and food tech. And this is one of the, I think, areas where I'm most excited about, you know. And Karamjit, we invited you recently, right, to come over and have lunch at our Urban Farm Innovation Hub, right? Which again is a really important area to achieve food security for the country. And again, you know, we don't want to do this alone. We set this up as like a platform, like an open source platform where we collaborate with students, with researchers, and with startups, right, to co-create solutions around it that can benefit the country. So the Accelerator is just one piece of the puzzle, really. So just want to sort of put it out there.
Right.
I did not know about your collaboration with Jetro, where you bring 5 or 6 Japanese startups, right, to solve your pain point. I think that's amazing. Really interesting.
Yeah, we're now in the version 3.0. So we've done 2 programs. So when we run the first program, actually, we brought in 5 startups. They came to us for a week. We introduced them to the various business units. We introduced them to the Magic, MDEX of this world as well. And then they went back, right? Because they had to think about, okay, what is it that they need, right? What is the big problem that needs solving? And can we come up with a solution for that, right? So we spent then a month with them. Actually, I flew out to Tokyo before COVID to really spend time with the startup and understanding how they run their business, right? And whether it would be right fit for us. And then finally, after a few months, they came back to Malaysia. They pitched the solution back to Sunway. And now from the 5 startups, the initial 5, 2 of them have set up an office here in Sunway. And one of them is working with our Sunway Medical Center on some digital health solutions. So these are the things that we are doing, again, you know, beyond the Accelerator. But it's structured the same way because, you know, Karamjit, you also know these events, right, where startups come from other countries, they pitch, and then they are back on the flight, and then we don't hear from them anymore. So these are like, I call it entrepreneurship tourism, right? It's very good. They love coming here. They love the nasi lemak, but I think the nasi lemak aftertaste is almost gone on the way back. And then they think about their own business again, right? So we want to, when we do these things, we want to create a more structured program around it so that there's a proper follow through and there's real partnerships coming out of it. And it's not just talk.
Okay, cool. So, you know, you've got this super. Why did you call it? Why are you calling it a super accelerator? And also, like I was telling Ben, I really hope that Matt, you can come up with, you know, a metrics, right, of how these startups did from the beginning and, you know, where they are today. So it'd be wonderful to raise the bar for accelerators in Malaysia with this kind of metrics. So maybe something for you to consider after that. But right now, why did you partner with Gobi and why call it Super Accelerator? Because you raise expectations, right?
Well, also, why not, right? Why not call it Super Accelerator? We have super apps, we have super leagues now in football, right? Like so why not? But I mean, there's a few reasons for that. One of them is the way we want to position our accelerator. I think there's accelerators that focus more on the very early stage startups, right? When they still have just a pitch deck. And they just need to build up a prototype, do a proof of concept, and really get into the market, right? So we want to focus on a program, or we deliver a program that is just beyond that, right? So we want to bring in companies that have at least an MVP, that have some traction in the market, and that can fully leverage the test beds that we have around those 6 verticals that we have. So that's why Super Accelerated. The other reason is that Gobi has a super seed fund, right? So we also want to align with their super seed, which is beyond seed. So we are beyond the early stage accelerator program. But we don't want to be cocky or anything, you know. It's not that we are any better than NEXEA or some of the others.
So no, you guys and together with Endeavour Malaysia also and Bikesh, right? Alpha Startups and even Magic. I mean, I'm really pleased that startups have so much options out there. So it's really great. So look, I want to ask you another one is that, and you mentioned, you know, you're doing work in bringing Japanese, you know, startups here, but how do you differentiate your accelerator versus those that are the rest in Malaysia and Singapore even? Because I feel that you guys and NEXEA are really on par with what's happening there also, which is why I brought this question up.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things with corporate accelerators, it's easy to talk about the relationship between startups and corporates. And, theoretically it makes sense, right? The startup wants to get access to the skill that the corporate has, and the corporate wants to get access to the ideas, to the talents. But in reality, it's super hard. It's really difficult, right, to make those partnerships work, because inherently you just speak completely different languages. The KPIs are different from a startup versus a corporate, right? And the business models are very different. So what we are, the way we position ourselves in iLabs is we are like a concierge for these startups, right? I don't know what the connotation for you guys is with the word concierge, but for me, it reminds me of when I was in school, when I was a young boy. And there's always this big fella with a lot of keys, the concierge who had the keys to all the doors in the schools.
Right.
And he was the guy you want to be friends with, right? Because he knew exactly what was happening in the school. He could give you access to anything that was going on. We are like a concierge in a big conglomerate, right? Because there's one thing of picking up the phone and calling up one of our business units. It's quite likely that they may not be very receptive to a startup.
Yeah.
So it really needs someone in the middle to make sure that we at least try to translate the language from the startup into a corporate language, right? And to create those little test beds or sandboxes where we can really start to experiment with the startups. Because if not, it's just going to be rejected like a badly gone organ transplant. Right? It's really hard. It's easy to talk about, but it's very hard to do. And, we haven't completely figured it out. But I think over the last 4 years, we have, just through a lot of experimentation, we've come to a lot closer to what the startup needs and what we need as a corporate as well.
Cool. Great. Okay, good to know. I can tell that there is a lot of serious work that has gone on in the background, and to learn and to quickly keep iterating, right, to make sure that the programs you launch are really, spot on and helping both parties, not just from your perspective. And that's great to see that maturity and that awareness. And I'm wondering whether some of this also has to do with, I was going to say that I've known you for a long time, right? And I knew you when you were a biotech entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So, and it's great, I love it when entrepreneurs, one-time entrepreneurs, right? And they don't succeed and they go into the corporate world, and you've been deep in innovation with, platforms. So, how hard it is for SMEs, right? Small companies to innovate. And now you found yourself in this amazing organization, and they want to tap all your past, right? Then that you bring on, and you bring this level of awareness to the Sunway Group now, and I think it's a win-win all the way around. So really excited about what's happening at Sunway. And let's move on to the next question, which is, and I know with Tan Sri, social causes are always very important, which is why we've also put it there. Do you feel there is any social impact to the work your accelerator does? And you can broaden it to all the innovation you all do, but I'm looking at, this obviously super accelerator.
I mean, it's such a good point, that you bring this up, because it's a really critical issue, right? That we, all of us really, not just startups, not just corporates, government, even in schools, right? We must educate students about sustainable development, right? And it's something that we really want to champion within the Sunway Group. It's not just something we want to talk about. It's something that we're now reporting on, right? Like we use our own metrics to report on whatever we are doing has the desired impacts, right? And ESG, I think, is also a widely talked about topic today.
Yeah,
it's really gone down, Karamjit. It's really come down to the ground, right? Because the corporates, they talk and they must adopt it. The banks are adopting it. Now the limiting partners of the VCs want their venture capitalists to also start measuring ESG and how they work with startups and what impact it has. So now we've actually brought it down to our accelerator in that we actually selected the 23 startups that we got in our current batch.
Yep.
Not just on innovation, not just on the synergies with the Sunway Group or the work we can do together, but also on the sustainable development, right? So there are some startups that are doing really well. Like in our previous batch, we had a company called Ento that is looking at alternative proteins. Huge market, right? We know the Beyond Meats of this world that have valuations in the multi-billions.
Yeah.
But I think, again, in Malaysia, there's a big role we can play in coming up with different kind of proteins to feed not just people, but also animals, right? Animal feed right now, huge imports into Malaysia. We are paying other companies for that sort of stuff. We can do this by ourselves. And so this particular startup, Ento, they actually can extract proteins in a more efficient way from crickets. Right.
Wow.
So I've actually tried it myself. It's a really good snack. And you know, the way that we worked with this startup, what we provided them was access to our hospitality, to our hotel. We gave them access to the university, to the hospitality education, to come up with a burger, a patty that is made out of cricket protein.
Wow.
Right? And again, this has a huge impact on food security. It has a huge impact on carbon emissions, because the way we rear beef, right, or cows today is it's really contributing a lot to carbon emissions, right? So these are the things we are thinking about. We are definitely selecting startups that do have an impact on the society, and I'm glad you brought that up.
No, good. I'm glad Nigesh insisted that we start adding a social element, to the story.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have done that, so good. Thanks, Nigesh. So anyway,
I've got one quick question there.
Okay.
So you mentioned social element, and you mentioned ESG, and also SD, right? Is it across the entire startup's value chain that you're looking at it, or just the end result? How's that? Because we hear a lot of people talking about sustainable development, but what happens is we think about the result at the end and forget that the entire value chain has a role there. If you forget one piece of it, like example, we talk about feeds, right? Feeds for cows, but the feed themselves, how they're produced, are we looking at it from that value chain as well? So is this the case here? You're looking across the entire value chain of the startup?
We try to, but of course it's hard. I mean, you're absolutely right? When you really go down into the supply chains of a startup, they can make claims that they are sustainable, but sometimes it doesn't address certain parts. I mean, I'll give you an example, right? Like urban farming, like what we do, right? Of course, we want to set up urban farms in the cities, and so it cuts a lot of carbon emissions in terms of logistics, right? So instead of getting vegetables from China or even from Cameron Highlands, you get it like 5 minutes from where people live, right? But another thing, what we must address, if you set up a vertical farm, an indoor vertical farm, you pay more electricity than actually that you use if you farm outside. It may be more efficient, right? But you really need to do the calculations on both sides, right? And it's a really important part. We are definitely not there yet, but it's something that we need to get much better at, to come up with a more holistic perspective on how we measure these impacts.
Right. Okay. And I think that'll be a good segue point for us to bring Ben back in, Ben Lim from NEXEA to come in. So Ben, I've got a question that I've been keeping for a while because I wanted to ask you this, right? Now it's version 6 right now. So there's been 6 cycles of this. I'm just very curious, across the 6th cycle, what have you seen change in these startups from perhaps behaviors, approach, or even the types of innovation they're going after?
In terms of behaviors and innovations, I would say the behaviors and the entrepreneurs that come in are mostly the same, right? I mean, entrepreneurs will always be entrepreneurs, but in terms of the startups themselves, that there's always new trends that come in, right? So whatever the newer trend is, those will come in. But most of them that we look for in the end, right? The funny thing is our startup fundamentals never change. Pandemic or no pandemic, trend or no trend. At the end of the day, we're looking for great businesses, right? So I don't know if I answered your question, but I hope you got something out of it.
To some degree, because I'm trying to understand, like, is there something exciting that you've seen over time? Like, 6 times doing this, there could have been things that are leading up to more things that keep you going, because doing it 6 times is not easy as well.
Can I just add to that, right?
Sure.
From what I've seen the last 4 years, and by the way, we actually ran Accelerators together with NEXEA as well. From 4 years ago, or 3-4 years ago, we saw a lot more startups who would just use a lot of buzzwords, just came up with a pitch deck and tried to raise money based on that. What we are seeing in our current batch, I just got some data from that as well, is that we see a lot more mature entrepreneurs. Like people who've done like 8 years on average work experience in our current batch, who've done a startup before. I think 1 out of 4 has done a startup before, so they're doing this a second time. And they already have traction, right? So maybe that's the way we position it as well. But our startups have a median income level of 200,000 ringgit in our current batch. Right. So I see more maturity in the ecosystem in the way that they pitch to investors, that they have solutions that have been properly validated, right, with real customers, rather than just big buzzwords like AI or blockchain or what have you, right?
I think that's a little bit of the effect of the ecosystem maturing as well, right? Because maybe 4 years ago or 5 years or 6 years ago, we were just trying to help more people accelerate more startups per se, but now you're a bit more stringent. You're saying, look, if you want to do this, you want to be part of it, these are the requirements. You kind of push everybody to match that as well. And that's a great thing. So now you don't have everybody just using buzzwords, but they're coming in with credentials.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. Karam, any last questions from you?
I do, but we're already at 46-minute mark, so I want to force myself to maintain some time discipline.
Sure. Wow, that's surprising.
So I'm very blessed that I can obviously call them and they'll give me their time of the day, right, to talk about bounce things off. But we want to keep it tight, so we'll stop at this. Like we're already 47 minutes now.
You're saying you're hungry. You're just hungry, Karamjit. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I want to go look my cricket protein chapati now. Okay?
Cricket protein chapati. Actually, that's going to be curious.
I'll treat you on one next time when you come.
All right, man. I look forward to it.
I'm curious how they're going to brand that, because that's Ento. How Ento is going to brand that cricket protein thing. Are they going to say it's cricket protein, or are they just going to say, look, this is just an alternative? That's going to be interesting to find out. All right. Thank you so much to both of y'all, Ben Lim and also Matt. And also to all our audiences out there, there's been some comments being firing off. Aziz Kevin Lee, can we have his comment up? Is saying amazing work, Matt and team at Sunway iLabs. And then there is one here, our producer. Our producer had to do this. Sorry, I'm sort of throwing you under the bus. Shashi, can you put up your comment? So our producer is Shashi. He's in the background. I don't know if he's going to do it. Yeah, he said, wow, Karam. Because Karam is never known to keep on time. So this is the thing we like. So to everybody out there, if you had some questions, maybe after the call, or maybe if you view this stream later than today and you have some questions, do leave the comments and we'll try to get them to both Ben and also Matt for them to answer. Or you can reach out to them. They're also on LinkedIn. You'll see their link as well. Do reach out to them. There may be questions you have. There may be collaborations you may think of, or you may be interested in that accelerator. All right. So great to everybody out there.
Please don't send me questions on my phone during the show. Okay, you got to send them more straight to the show.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, so that we can show those questions up and ask our guests. All right. So thank you everybody for joining us for this Tech Talk Friday. And also just a quick shout out to DNA or Digital News Asia. Ensure you go over, because we talked about one news or the pick of the week. You want to find out more tech news, drop by Digital News Asia. And for corporates out there, if you're looking for solutions for upskilling for your company or for individuals in there, do ensure you drop by Necole.tech. We have a host of solutions there for you with Necole. It is a digital platform. We are digitizing. We are virtualizing. That's the way to go. So do drop by Necole.tech to find out how you can upskill your company. Now, thank you everybody for joining us for Tech Talk Friday. Take care. Have a great Friday weekend. Stay safe, everybody. Things are still dicey out there. If you got your vaccine appointment, go get it. Don't wait. And hopefully we'll all be out of this, and this whole ecosystem of accelerators will push more startups. And when we get out of it, we've got a lot more to look forward to. Take care, everybody. See you. Bye-bye.
See you.